let us begin.
You want to move up in the documentation? Yeah, okay. Respecting the self. Antarjyotihi Bahirjyotihi Pratyakjyotihi Paratpara Jyotireva Jyotihi Atmajyotihi Shivoshmaham. Brahmajnanavali Mala. I am the supreme light of awareness, illuminating the outer world of objects, inner world of objects, and the deep sleep state. I am divine light of the nature of auspiciousness. Shivaswarupi. Guru Vandana. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Shakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Akandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Respect to Guru Parampara. Narayana Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Sadashiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you very much, Saravanan-ji. So our today's focus is on the second video talk by Prabhuji, where the focus is on the first two parts of the Sadhana Chatushtaya. I'm assuming all of you have listened to Prabhuji's talk. So in that, the focus is on the Viveka and Vairagya part of Sadhana Chatushtaya. So what we will do now is, we'll go around and each one of you can take about 5 to 7 minutes and share your own inner clarity based on the talk. Any references you can use. You can even share the PPT on the screen if you have done anything like that. So feel free to use your own approach. And after each one completes their presentation, any one of us, if we have any question, we can put the question and we can have a little discussion and move on to the next person. All right. So this is the approach that we will take. Any suggestions on this? Any changes for this? Okay. All right. Then we'll get started. Does anybody want to begin with?
I can start, Vijayji.
Excellent, Saravanan-ji. Yeah, so let's get started. Do you want to share anything on the screen?
I will share.
Okay, so then let me just make sure everybody has yeah, you must have the option now. Can you please verify?
Okay, yeah. So do you see now?
Yes, we are able to see your screen.
Yeah, so I just put together this notes slides. Yeah, in this video, Guruji has started with the invocation prayer. That's the first prayer in Tattva Bodha. So I see that all the talks, they start with this prayer, which is Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Vidiyate. So in this prayer, first basically Shankaracharya starts by offering prayer to the Guru, and there's a talk on Guru where like Vasudeva is used, and the term Vasudeva, how does it relate to Guru Govinda Pada for Shankaracharya. So here Guruji has said Ishvaro Guru Atmeti, which is God, Guru, Atman, all are one, and that's how God himself comes in the form of Guru for the seeker who is ready. And that's the, so basically with one word he has referred to this idea. And so with that reference, basically the prayer is to about this book, like to whom this text is written, for mumukshus, and for what benefit to get Atma Jnana, and how and like what is the, why do we seek Atma Jnana? To attain moksha. And how do we attain moksha? By realizing the true nature of self as Atma. And what happens because of that, mental suffering goes, desire, stress reduce, and mind becomes calm, and we get blissful. So this is how I understood the meaning of this invocation prayer, why this prayer is done, to whom we offer the prayer. As like they say, before you start any work, start with a prayer, so that the whole work goes well. And same way, as he has started writing this book, he has offered the prayer so that the book is written and the book stays forever and useful to all those seekers who want to attain moksha. Shall I?
Yeah, please.
Like,
Yeah, the format we can adapt is you can complete, and
okay.
if we have questions, we will note it down and then come at the end. Otherwise,
Thank you.
we know it will be a disturbance.
Yeah. So in the second one, the way it goes is like sadhana chatushtaya sampannadhikarinam moksha sadhana bhutam tattva viveka prakaram vakshamaha, which is for whom is this book. So the way I see it is, it's like from now it's like question and answer, right? For whom is this book? And for those with 4 inner qualities. For what is this book? To attain moksha. And what is the methodology used? To learn Tattva Viveka Prakaram, through discrimination with Viveka. And why? So here, what as Guruji says, the method is not to do something to get something. Instead, recognize that which is already there with us. Right? And how? And it says like focus on the thoughts. The subjective logic is used by Vedanta to teach Atma, about Atma, that is beyond the subject and the world, which is me and the world, right? And using Viveka, intellect, as the tool for the upliftment. So that's the second one. And the next question says, okay, sadhana chatushtaya kim, what are those 4 inner qualities? And then the next line is nitya anitya vastu vivekaha, discrimination between the real and the unreal. You start with that, right? And knowledge of permanent and the temporary things, because we should know what is a long term versus a short term. There, Guruji has talked about the purpose and the goals, right? we have goals, which is like whatever be it studies, job, and how that relates to purpose. And it says like purpose is always towards a long-term happiness, while the goals are the short-term, right? And here, Vedanta guides us towards the long-term permanent happiness, as the goals basically give short-term happiness. Okay? And I will go to the actually next one because there it gives the details. Yeah. So when it comes to the actions, they use purushartha, which is all the whatever we do or towards. They fall under 4 categories: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Right. So artha is the basic needs, while kama goes towards like growing them greedy, being a little bit greedy, needing more, growing everything, right? Or dharma, like doing the rightful things, right? All these things, they do not give the permanent happiness. While the moksha, the 4th one, is where we basically get the permanent happiness with and get liberated. Right? And for that, they talk about vairagya, which is once we understand the nature of the temporary happiness, start ignoring those and stay with the path that gives the permanent happiness. Vijayji, should I stop here? Like you said, first two.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
The first two is we'll stop together.
if you feel you're covered the first two, that is a Viveka and the Vairagya, then we will stop here your presentation.
Okay. Yeah, we'll stop.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Saravanan-ji.
Yeah.
Any questions based on what Saravanan-ji discussed? Does anybody have any question? Yes, please go ahead, Padma-ji. You have to be unmuted.
Yeah, I just want to understand, like in the first slide, Saravanan-ji, you had mentioned that about the seeker, and it comes to those who are ready. What do you mean by when you say that you are ready? Like, because why I'm asking this question is because I believe that if you seek, then are you not ready? Because to seek itself is such a big thing. Everybody is not seeking it. So
yeah, so I saw that basically they're saying that these are the pre-qualifications needed, like how to go for a higher study.
sorry to interrupt this. I don't think this is this slide. I think is it the previous slide?
This one or this one?
No, where you say that you have to be ready. I think it's the first slide of your
yeah. So that's where the answer is the sadhana chatushtaya, for 4 qualities needed. Okay, where or you're saying like when the seeker is ready. Okay. Yeah.
I'm asking, like, what do you mean by like you have said, right? God himself comes in the form of
correct.
For the seeker who is ready. So
yes.
What do you mean by I mean, a seeker who is ready means I didn't understand that. So I'm trying to.
Okay, so here Guruji has mentioned in his in other sessions where he says like how do you seek a guru? Like to seek a guru, you need to know who is a guru and be able to identify a guru, because from outside a guru also looks like any other person, right? And only a jnani can identify another jnani. So when we are not ready, how can we identify, right? So that basically comes from our own desire. Like, what is that desire? Like our own clarification in the life, saying, okay, I see that in my case, let me take my case for as an example. At one point of time, I realized that all the things I'm doing is not giving me that permanent satisfaction or happiness. And I like there was a desire to know, no, there is something beyond this. I need to know what is that beyond this, right? Small goals I attain, but I am not getting happy over a long term. And there was a confusion, and that's where like the satsang happened. I got connected and like realized and landed in this place. So that's where Guruji says that when as a seeker, when we get ready, okay, the God himself, like the God himself sends the Guru, because we cannot search for a Guru, because we don't know who's the right Guru for us. And that's why they said the Guru, you will find the Guru when you are ready.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So he used this phrase very often, that we cannot identify a Guru, search for a Guru as being a Jnani, because we don't know, we are not qualified to look for a Jnani. Right? Only a Jnani can understand another Jnani. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other question anybody has for Saravanan-ji? So Saravanan-ji, one another question that came to my mind is, you used the prayer. What is your clarity about what is a prayer and why one should pray?
Yeah. So my understanding is, before we start any task, there is a reason for what we are going to do, and usually the reason, the desire is intense at the beginning, but then there can be many hindrances that can come later, right? So this prayer is basically to pray to the Guru, to the God, that you know what, this is the purpose why I'm starting this, and I want to I need a blessing so that I continue with the same spirit until the end, and whatever I do, that is finally serves the purpose of why I'm doing this. In this case, Shankaracharya is praying to Guru because he's writing this book, Tattva Bodha, and for the reason is to help those seekers, mumukshus, to find moksha, right? And and he's seeking the blessing so that he's able to write it, and the book serves the purpose.
Excellent. Okay. So what you're saying is prayer gives the purpose, states the purpose.
States the purpose. Correct. In this prayer, he stated the purpose. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Okay.
Vijayji, I have one thing to say.
Yeah, please, Satyaji.
Yeah, regarding this being ready, a seeker being ready, I feel a seeker is ready. Maybe that depends on at what stage of his journey he is. Like whether his Prabhuji says if is his intellect sharp enough, that he can do the Nitya. I mean, does he have that Nitya Anitya Viveka? Whether he's able to discriminate using Viveka and Vairagya between what is permanent and what is temporary. So unless you have that discrimination, you will get trapped into the whole, I mean, the world, which is Anitya, and you will never be able to be ready as a seeker. So just seeking is a mere desire. That also comes under the many desires. Like Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. In one of his classes, Prabhuji says, all these four are seeking only. As long as you are just a seeker, it is not enough. You should be ready in the sense that you should have the real discrimination intellect within you. Your intellect should be sharp enough as a sword to discriminate between what is real and what is unreal. Just speaking will not make you ready.
But however, Satyaji, people may come into a satsang depending upon the nature of the guru for various reasons. So for example, some of them may come by listening to some stories of some people saying that my some disease went away. So even this person may come into the satsang thinking that, okay, my disease will go away. However, that is where the transformation can occur, that, in the presence of that satsang, then, the transformation of, okay, what is the true thing that I should be interested in? To transform from, okay, I just want a health, to why not have it permanently? What is that permanence means? So that transcendence or the transformation possibility occurs only in the surroundings of a satsang, isn't it?
Yes, yes. The mere fact that we are in presence of a Sadguru itself means that we are seeking enough.
Yeah.
But are we ready to receive grace? Are we ready as a seeker is only when we start the journey inside and make our intellect sharp enough that we leave what is impermanent and hold on to what is permanent. So in the process, we need not learn something, we need not gain something, but we just have to dissolve the clouds which are actually stopping us from realizing the self.
Excellent. Very nice. Any other question or any other clarity?
Vijayji, I would like to add few more points.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
What I have understood with the seeker meaning is, in the journey of a person, all of them will not be a seeker for permanent happiness. See, in the every stage, generally the person will be satisfied with temporary happiness itself. The permanent happiness seeker can be a younger one, or he may attain that knowledge at the older age also. So at the beginning itself, his buddhi or intellect will not be enough to discriminate what is nityam and what is anityam. Absolutely, guru is required to go in that path. I feel only the circumstances or the situation in our life only make us to come to get the enlightenment to know ourselves. That is Atma Gnanam. That is what I have understood. So once we come into this, we will not be in a position to discriminate the which is nityam and what is anityam. So as we proceed in the upadeshas of Guru, we will our buddhi will get sharpened, or the tools what we learn from the Guru will make us to discriminate the temporary and the permanent things. And by getting the experience, then we will be able to know what is permanent happiness, and we will understand what is ourself.
Excellent. Very nice. Yes, Padmaji, go ahead. Yeah.
I think I agree with what Yukta ji said now. That is why I put that question to Saravanan ji, because I feel that seeking this path itself, I think there is a lot of detachment associated first to even come this far. Like she said, everybody is searching for happiness, but they are looking at all the wrong things, like what Prabhuji says it as goals, confusion between purpose and goals. Ultimately, your purpose is happiness, but you are in a wrong path to find it. And that is why, you have to again and again seek. But once you start seeking this, I don't think there is any way you will go back or stop seeking that from there on. So it is only a journey after that to get to where you are. But that is why I said that as long as you are seeking, the guru will come to you. You don't, like Sarvananji again said that you don't have an understanding of who is your guru or what qualities he should have. But I think the guru will approach you, is what is my understanding. So as long as there is seeking, he will come to you. When he will come to you is, I think it's up to the level of your seeking, but there is no stopping it, or there is no like, like for what he mentions about goals, like there can be change. Today your goal can be a house, tomorrow it can be a better job, tomorrow it can be a marriage or children. These are changing, but the seeking of who you are, there is a never stop to it. You are only able to suppress it, or give importance to it. I think that is what I think. So that is why I feel that as soon as you seek it, you are ready for it. Maybe you are not recognizing it, but you are ready for it, is what I feel.
So I think we can take the important questions as what is that one is seeking, and what is that readiness. Maybe we can all once again dig deeper, because the seeking that it part is probably not very clear in the beginning. In the very beginning, when somebody says I want it, what is that they want? They probably want health. I'm feeling very miserable, my body is aching, I just want to get out of this miserable feeling. Maybe it will begin with that. So that it always expands as they recognize that it expands, and ultimately it has to land in the final destination.
Yes.
So shall we move on to next presenter? Who wants to present next? Who wants to volunteer to present next?
Vijayji, just want to add one more point. The seeking.
Yeah.
I think seeking is also this readiness going with the empty vessel. Right. So I think that is another thing, that only then like we can get what is going to come. And like if somebody is full, they will never seek.
Yeah.
Right. So and like at some point of time we realize that whatever we have, it's not filling the vessel at all, and it is just air. Right. And I think that I just felt like one more way to put it across, like about the seeker. The seeker realizes that what is there is not giving him that satisfaction, and the vessel is empty. And that's when, like when the vessel is empty, starts looking for it. God basically sends him the guru, realizing that he is ready, that he has recognized that what he has is not filling that vessel, and he is ready to receive now.
There are contrary examples also. See, there are so many scenarios where a full vessel, or assumed to be full vessel, gone to a guru, and the guru has removed that ignorance also, that I'm full itself is ignorance.
How with the full vessel? How do you, like, how do they approach guru? Like what?
Then the pride is there. The pride. So there are so many stories. Among the stories, maybe we can recall any one story. So, for example, what is coming to my mind is there is a Zen story. So there is a student who goes to a Zen master, and he says that I have learned so many scriptures. I've come here to have a discussion with you.
Okay.
Then the Zen master, before answering him, says, okay, why don't we have tea? Come. So then he makes a pot of tea, and then he gives him a vessel to drink, and then he starts pouring the tea, and he doesn't stop even when the tea is at the very top. He continues to pour. This student says, stop, it's going to overflow. Then the master says, how can I ever fill something that's already full? And the story goes that that student then calmed down and was ready to receive.
Okay.
So in the presence of a guru, therefore, so there are so many transformational stories also. Kavi Ratnakara, or Valmiki, before he became Valmiki, was a murderer, a thief. He used to murder people. So that murderer got transformed in the presence of Narada. Angulimala got transformed in front of Buddha. So there are so many other stories. It is not necessary that the seeker already knows that I'm seeking. So there seems to be a lot of providential, circumstantial karma associated with that, which kind of manifests.
Okay. The past deeds.
Definitely there has to be a deep desire, which is quite natural.
Okay.
Somebody was saying something. Was it Kamaji?
No, Vijay, I was just listening. So.
Okay, all right. Shall we move on to the next person? Who will present next?
I'll go, sir.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, so what I understand is we are all searching for happiness. I mean, everybody wants to be happy in one way or the other. And through the session that I listened to, Prabhuji is clarifying kind of like, where are we searching for that happiness? Is it constantly we are looking for it at material or outwards rather than inwards? And then he tries to tell us that what is essentially, what is you, what are you? Like when he describes about the many addictions that we have, which could be like work or work for some, or alcohol or whatever it is. So he's trying that essentially it is you who is being happy, and you connected, you make an association to that thing which gives you happiness at that moment. So it is essentially that we are not able to recognize what is giving us that happiness. So that recognition is the recognition that it is ourself, the true self is always happy. It doesn't need a reason to be happy, or it doesn't need anything to be happy or anyone to be happy. It is just within ourselves. And in our quest of our going through our daily activities, we make several associations that this is giving me this is making me happy, or if I get this I will become happy. And that is why there is a constant fluctuation of when we feel happy, and then again we go back to the state of not being happy, and then again we start to look like, how else can I be happy, how else can I be happy, what else will I get that will make me happy? So I think that and Tattva Bodha is the text, he says essentially, which teaches you how to recognize that who is really happy, and what you need to do to always be in that state. That is the journey. And why you want to be happy, how can you be happy, is one of the secrets that he says. That what is the secret of permanent happiness? Permanent happiness is only when you are seeking liberation. So liberation from what? Liberation is basically from all your knowing that you are functioning essentially in a very limited way in this in this journey. Like it's always about, this will make me happy, that will make me happy. But if you see at yourself, you are not you think you are a very small part of this universe, right? But without you, the universe will not be the same. Although we see ourselves as a speck of dust. Like many times you have also shared some of the videos, like where we are such a small speck in this Brahmanda, and but that small speck also can make a difference, is why we are striving to be our best, or whatever we are doing essentially, and think that it is for the good. I think it is because of that speck of dust also can make a difference. So without us, the universe will not be the same. So that is how I feel that happiness comes from within. So this text is an essential part of making us recognize that how do you go about being that. So essentially he talks about the 4 qualities that we need to have to recognize that. One is viveka, which is discrimination, and the other one is vairagya. So viveka is when you talk about discrimination, it is talking about how do you discriminate. So essentially it is all discrimination of thoughts, like which thought is because thought, I feel thought is where your world is. Like what are your thoughts translate into your world. So if you believe that everybody around you is positive, I think you will always attract all those kind of people, those kind of experiences that way. And if suppose you see negativity, if you see just disease everywhere or suffering everywhere, that is what you can see. So this is, I feel this is what is limitation, the limitation that he talks about. It is very difficult for us to see a larger picture. Like even with this COVID right now, many of them are always unhappy. Even if they haven't got COVID, they are unhappy just like how the world is right now, because you are confined, you are not able to move and all this. And there are a few set of people who have converted into such a magnificent personal growth part of the same thing, you know. How are you able to have such a contrasting views about one thing? Because everybody's thought is what they experience. And if your thought is positive, then you think even about a worst case as very positive. You get a learning from that which is positive. So this discrimination of thoughts is you need it, I think, because that is where you will uplift and empower yourself. And he also says that when we talk about thoughts, Tattva Bodha is not telling you that this is the way you should think or this is the thought you should have. I think that is something which we all have. Like we all have certain things that we think is good and certain thing we think is bad. That is where our basics start. Like that is how even our actions we determine mostly. That, you know, if we have been taught that this is how you should be, this is how you should be with elders, then that is that we believe, we tend to, it starts our belief system or conditioning where we think that this is the only right way and any other way is wrong. So that is again our limitation, because we are not able to see from that person's perspective how he views the world, he or she, we do not know, we do not understand. So that is what he says, that if Tattva Bodha is not telling you that this thought is right or this thought is good, it leaves it up to us, our understanding, how is our conditioning, because each one's conditioning will be very different. And how to let go of that conditioning also will be a different thing for everybody. And now I think after going through this, I also understand, like in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says that whatever little you do spiritually, that is carried on to your next lifetime. I think this is essentially what he is also pointing towards, because how we let go, seeking is one aspect, but seekers will be at various stages. Like what Satyaji also said, they will be at various stages of seeking. You know, I may be a beginner, you may be very advanced in that. So who am I to understand that? It is only for the self to know. There is no comparison or any, that I am this far and he is more ahead than me, and how you cannot reach, you cannot force yourself. So it is a gradual process, evolution, which will happen maybe over a couple of lifetimes, we don't know. So I think seeking is the essential part where we start the journey, and then how far we are, it is up to us, and how we progress is also up to us, I think. That is one part about Viveka. And then Vairagya, he says that Vairagya is essentially detachment. So for me, I feel that to start seeking itself, like I mentioned, there has to be a certain amount of Vairagya. Otherwise, like for example, in my family, if I have 7, all 7 are not doing this, although they know my schedule that, you know, every Saturday she's doing this, every Sunday she's doing this. No one is even coming and sitting next to you and listening. So I think it is very, very personal journey that you go through. And that is why I say that only when you have a certain type of detachment, that detachment could come from anything. Like for me, it was my personal illness that I have dealt with for so long, trying to find solutions, and then for that disease to get well, or, you know, to get, I don't know, basically, like, how do you get relieved of it? And after a point of time, you are so tired of experiencing it at various levels, physical, mental, emotional, that you just think that, okay, I am done with this. I am done with this entire process, you know, and to even imagine another lifetime of going through something is so, I mean, I can't express it. Like, I don't want it, kind of thing. I don't want to experience it. So my search began from there. Like, how do you not experience it? Because I don't have a choice, right? I have to be here. There is nowhere to go, like you always say. There is nowhere to go. Whatever it is, you are just here. So while you are here, you make the most of it. And then if you don't want to come back here, what is the way? How do you go about not coming back here? Was my beginning of this search of this seeking. So that is why I say that, you know, it could be different for different people, and the way we progress is also according to that. So because physical, you know, initially when I got into this, I always would think that, you know, once you're on this path, maybe you don't experience all these physical things, you know. And when I got to learn the stories of great masters, and each great master has a very big physical disease because of which, you know, ultimately they had to go through, and they ended up. So I feel that, okay, then I had an understanding that, you know, just because you are in this path doesn't mean you are not going to experience those things. Maybe your way of acting towards that particular situation will change drastically because of your understanding that it is not something that is happening to you, but it is at a very different level altogether. Like, it is only on physical or something. That is my understanding. So that's all I have to say, sir.
Very nice, Padmaji.
In fact, I really liked what Padmaji has just now said, and I can connect with it very much. In fact, what the body experiences physically or mentally, the body, mind, intellect, anyway are not us. So anyway, whatever it experiences is a part of the law of karma, as Prabhuji always says. So whatever was destined will happen. So pain is inevitable, but suffering you can choose.
Yeah.
So whether you want, whether how you choose to suffer is totally, again, that is what is in your hands. And by being in this journey with Prabhuji and these classes and all, I feel that there will be a stage where you can disconnect and disidentify yourself with the mind, the body, and the intellect and the world outside. So if we look at it this way, that I am here and the whole body, mind, intellect, the whole world is one. And slowly this disconnection happens, and slowly you will also realize that you, the body, the mind, the whole world is the same. That is Sarvam Kalvidam Brahman. So once that disidentification, it creates a sort of in us that I am different, I'm a speck in the ocean, and there is this whole world around me. But after a particular stage, there is a stage where everything is the same. So when everything is the same, there is no one who is conspiring against you. The world is not different from you. The body is not conspiring against you. The body was not built to make you suffer. So when everything is the same, there is a sense of peace which creeps in.
Yeah.
And another point is when the mind is seeking something. So the sense of happiness. happiness is a small part of actually the one which we are seeking. We are seeking a peace, we are seeking bliss. And happiness is just one part of the big thing we are seeking. In fact, I really like what Prabhuji said once. He said, when you take a cup of coffee, you feel very peaceful, or you want something so bad and you get it, you feel very peaceful. The main reason here is the mind which was so active, or the mind which was so much concentrated on one particular thing, became calm for an instance. Just because the mind has become calm for an instance, if it can give you so much peace, just imagine if you try to calm your mind totally, how much peace and bliss you will experience. So that experience is what we all are seeking. So it totally depends on how we try to act upon our mind. And with Viveka and with Vairagya, we have to essentially eliminate or discriminate the thoughts, and slowly, in the self. So that is the whole purpose of Tattva Bodha, where we are trying to get on to the journey of the self, inner journey. That is possible through intellect, but intellect is also not us. We, at some point of time, we need to do away with the intellect, do away with the mind, and stay in this.
Excellent. Very nice. So,
Jai, I would like to
go next. Yeah, please.
Again, in the path of this happiness, we are moving in this journey with many people, like our own relations, friends, our gurus, colleagues, and all. So everybody's thoughts will be different from others. Even my thought at this moment will be different from other time what Padmaji told or referred. This time I may like my idea will be one thing, and the other time will be another time. So what I was thinking is, most of the time we are all forced by the external forces or the thoughts what we are getting. First of all, our mind is full of thoughts which will be agitating most of the time, and we will be struggling what to do and what not to do, and how to whether I am seeking, whether I am reaching the goal, or I am going behind the purpose of life. That is in one way is doing, and other way, this is what is going in my mind, that is internally. As well as, again, I am bounded by the external force, like what my family is doing, or how I am bound with this society or in the journey. So Tattva Bodha helps us, like, how to suppress all these mental agitations, thoughts, and all, and how to analyze myself. So how to seek the inner happiness. What I am understood is, the ultimately the mental health is the purpose. That is health and happiness and the peace, whatever might be the circumstances. So once I understood what I am, then the other things will automatically will suppress. So how to achieve this is really a task. It is really a very good task. So how it comes is only what happens is, as you told, it's a transformation. Hence, okay, this transformation is happened. Then later, how we process, how we proceed in this is with the teachings of Guru only. So once that is there, then Vastu Viveka will automatically will lead us to, it's a tool with sharpens, and enlightenment and upliftment will automatically comes to us. So we can only find the difference. So once we are into this spiritual path, and once this into satsanga, we are always, see, before I was in different circumstances or surroundings where everyone used to give different these things. But when I come to this satsanga, the focus is one. The focus is what, like, let us all together in the journey, let us understand what I am. So the focus, rather than one, the many people's focus is one. So automatically it gives, I feel it gives extra energy, and it motivates or energizes internally to even enhance my focus or upliftment towards this. So personally, I tell within 2 weeks, I can differentiate many things. This is not good. This is good. So the thought suppression, whatever this is, so bad thoughts are getting depressed. So good thoughts are going on. So really, stage by stage, it is giving me happiness. Okay, and the later things is vairagya. Okay, then after this is this automatically the detachment comes because my focus is here as Prabhuji told. So once the student focus is only NEET or JE, whatever he wants to proceed, other whatever external world, whatever it says, it automatically suppresses. So now my focus is only to understand myself and to be happy and have contentment with what God has given and to go along with it, to get adjusted with what I have get. So absolutely, first what I tell is this kind of satsanga is absolutely necessary because a person individually like me cannot proceed alone to understand what myself is. Uh, that is it.
Excellent. Very nice. Very nice, Priyaji.
Thank you.
Yeah, Padmaji.
I wanted to say that I completely agree with her. And that's where I say that, you know, in our house, not everybody must be pursuing this. And to know how to proceed or to be in that state and to continue this journey, we need a group, a satsanga, what we say, where, you know, you can study, you can know how to go forward in this journey while being in the external world is something I feel. And like she said, it now, you know, like if you're working, there is always, your mind is always chattering. So now you are able to, at some point at least, stop and think, okay, why is this thought coming? You know, am I in the present? Because there is a tendency for you to go to past experience, or if a person is near you, you start tending to like, and especially if you are in a negative space with that person or experience with that person you have had, you will go like, you know, oh, this one did this, like that. It's running at the back of your mind. So it helps you also to evaluate, okay, but why am I thinking about it now? It's all gone. It's all gone. So either you let it be or you don't let it influence what you are currently doing, because the like you like we say, the life is always in the present moment, right? So change also can happen only there. Even if you want to change your thought about that person, like, you know, this is something that person has done in the past, maybe they have also changed like how I have changed. That, to bring about that change, I think you need to be in the present. And that is what this helps, this discrimination which we are learning now through Prabhuji in Tattva Bodha. I think that helps, and it makes you act better. Then you stop worrying about what he has done, she has done to you in the past, or what if it comes again to you as an experience. You start to discriminate and act accordingly, I think.
Very nice. Very nice.
Vijay ji, I would like to add one more point.
Yeah,
Like,
please go ahead. Yeah.
Might be it is a general this thing, but to the current scenario, I thought I could share with this view.
Yeah, please.
Might be it is Bhagavad Gita or Tattva Bodha. It is what I feel is it is actually required for the life skill development. Absolutely, it is required. Okay, in the present scenario, like academics, we are learning many things. Many things we are learning. We are learning mathematics, science, social, so many things. Why this Bhagavad Gita or little Tattva Bodha might be difficult to understand, but the essence of Tattva Bodha, like how to be happy with the contentment, why it was not introduced in the curriculum in the beginning? Because it strengthens any child's mental. See, mental health is more required rather than whatever is there. That is why it is not. See, the Tattva Bodha, Shankaracharya wrote this in 6th century, sorry, 6th or 8th century. So till now, it is we are going on. Now I am learning, and now that this and God has given me this opportunity to learn this at the age of 44 or 45 for me. If the same opportunity, if we give at the small age to the child, so surely we will get a healthy society or whatever I feel. Because what I have understood in this scenario is mental health and inner happiness is most required. Otherwise, the society, the jealous, what we are seeing, the stress, everything will really come down, and we'll have a healthy surrounding this thing. So never we feel like he is different from me. So why I'm comparing myself? He has got that car. I'm living in this 2 BHK high, and he studied in the same year. He is staying in America, but then why the difference will come? Once I have the knowledge, so I'll never do that. So at the later stage, rather doing this, so why don't we incorporate that itself? So I feel now itself, at least for our generation is over. I thought at least for our kids, this thing we can really incorporate these important points, and we can strengthen the society.
Excellent. Actually, the topic that you brought up probably requires a separate session altogether.
Yes.
We can take up another session and examine that. But
That's why I apologized in the middle.
no, not apologies. You know, see, that has been the vision of all the great masters, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It is not for nothing that, you know, that vision has been put in front of us. But there are so many angles to what you are bringing up. So maybe we will take it up separately.
Sure.
Who would like to go next between Shubhaji and Kamaji? And also one quick time check. It's 7:30. If anybody has any time constraint, you know, please feel free to drop. I think we still have Shubhaji, Kamaji to share. Satyaji, do you want to share something more?
That's it, Vijay.
Okay. So then these two, and then I have to share something. So maybe another 15 to 20 minutes is what it will take. Yeah.
Sir, I don't have much to add because
Please.
almost everything is covered. I don't know if my approach is right, but whenever I see these videos, I relate it to my life and think the way, how can I change myself? Because I cannot change the world, but I can change myself and maybe be more peaceful. So that is how I have been doing this session altogether. So I've been trying to put those changes in my day-to-day life. So that is what I would like to add.
Tell us more. Tell us more about what is that you picked and what is that you implemented. That itself is a great learning for each one of us.
See, probably I've started to realize that maybe if somebody says something, I put a different thought to it. Oh, maybe the situation where they were in was much different than what they meant by saying. So those things like discrimination, that's what Prabhuji said, right? So that I'm able to put in that discrimination now, whether what is right, the approach, what probably any statement if somebody makes, probably that I start thinking now, unlike before I used to get very upset and sad. Now I think maybe the different approach I'm trying to put it so that the way I am thinking is right and not misunderstood. Rather, I am not misunderstanding the other person. So that is how it has been going on for me. It is like every thing I try to relate it to my life and try to put it in a way so that it gives me some sort of peace.
Excellent.
Otherwise, it's like it's always every minute is a misery, you know, the approach. So that has these things have literally I'm trying to put it in a daily this thing rather than
Any
I don't know if my approach is right.
Any specific experience you would like to share with us?
See, the other day I went to the nursery. So in that nursery, that fellow was trying to prove that he wasn't a laborer. He had studied, and he knows everything. So on a normal day, I would get irritated the way he was trying to put me down. But on a different note, I was just looking at him with so much compassion, like he's trying to prove that he is good, he is nice. So I was just going with the flow, even though I knew the things he was trying to tell me. I was like, I was like literally going with the flow and trying to balloon him. And at the end of the day, I didn't lose anything. He was very happy. On an ordinary day, I would have got, even I know this, that kind of attitude would have come to a person. But that day I felt, okay, be he's just trying to prove that he is good, he is right. So what is wrong in me ballooning him and saying, yeah, you are right, you are fine, you are great. So at the end of the day, he was happy, I was happy, that's it. So these things have changed in my life, the way I approach things. So that way I felt good. And even he was very happy, and he went out of the way to show me plants which were not shown to other people. So even I gained something. So the approach what I am taking because of all these Gita session also, and these Prabhuji's talks, it's helping me in a day-to-day basis, is what I would like to put it across, sir.
Excellent. Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Kamaji?
Yeah, actually, yeah, after seeing that video, I also felt the same thing what Shubhaji said. She actually stole away my opening remarks. Yeah, when I was seeing this, there are a couple of events which has happened to me in the my life this far, and yes, I can relate to it many things. So when you were saying a lot of things, about this detachment and purpose and goal, yes, I've experienced this, at least by theory wise. But to bring 2-3 points, just because of lack of time, I just have 2-3 points. The first is, yeah, every time when I attend this, I wonder, why I came here. But there is a purpose, and again, that is, and the one thing, because Prakashi is not around, so I attribute this to him. I stayed abroad for some time, and when somebody hears me, that I was there, they think, oh, I'm a big shot, and I was lucky enough. But there are, as I said, for everything where there is a positive, there is a negative. So if you ask personally, who was either, worked at a high position or abroad or in some big companies, they have own their challenges to tell, what they have gone through. So that was one of them, staying away from a family for almost, 3 years. Every day when I get up, I wonder why I'm here. So there's a fear, suddenly there'll be a call which is coming from home that, something is not right and all. So there was a constant stress. And one of them was like, how to overcome this. So there are many ways. Meditation is not the only solution, because at the end of the day, I have to still, spend some time, do some action. And so I started picking up a lot of small things about artwork, about interacting with people, just at least sharing some of my fears. As she rightly said, I want somebody who could hear me, so that at least I can empty my this thing. So there were 2 people whom I met, or maybe got sent. One was Prakashji, and his family was there, but he was staying away, and used to keep me involved, either during some festival or something. He used to come home, spend some time. And there was another person whose family was also in India, but he was now he became a citizen of that country. He used to interact with me, and he used to initially used to make fun of me. What is this? You are learned. What's the use of this? Making money is the thing. Anyways, but after interacting with him, he used to take me around. We'll go to this pub. We'll eat that. We'll that. That was one part. Other part was Prakash. He said, "Hey, come, I'll teach you something." 2 different people with 2 different mindset, but both of them were actually teaching me something. So coming to the point, why I brought this thing up was, sometime back, Shravananji said that, Guru comes to you Yeah, he will certainly come, but he also comes in a very different form. Whenever you have a solution, when somebody gives you an answer, it is like, Mother Nature is telling you something. So somebody, and these people were actually, the means. They were, sometimes when I was depressed, they used to come and take me out of that situation. So that's the second point. So it's an evolving process. That's what I find. That's what I feel. And you will always get an answer, but you have to be receptive of that. Sometimes I do get a very good idea. I myself, land up appreciating, oh, how did I get this? See, the question then stops. How did I get this? It is not me. Somewhere something has triggered. It has come out. Yeah. People would appreciate. People would criticize. But at the end of the day, you have to accept that. Okay, if I've done good, okay, it's not me. If I've done that, I am not the reason for that. Some of it has happened through me. The third part is about detachment. Yeah, a colleague of mine, he used to say that anything you own, you have to accept that it is going to bring miseries. I mean, he has been telling me all the time, including our skill sets. We learn a lot of techniques, but sometimes it becomes a nuisance. It becomes a big, big headache. That's why they say that whenever you learn an art, to give it to somebody, because he will not come back asking again and again, how do I do this? And this is a major, major problem with, I would say, with me or with most of us. That is, we feel that if I know this art, I am kind of secured. And this happens in most of the things, be it in business, be it in trade, be it in many other life, including the personal life. If I know something, I feel like if I give it, I will be in a pauper. But that's not what it is when it comes to knowledge. Yeah, this is something. So possession is one part of it. And the only last point, I want to leave this with the last point that in my previous project, I was working for a company called JLR. You might be knowing Jaguar Land Rover. It's quite a very popular this thing. But so I used to see a lot of these new cars and all in car shows and all. But I never had that feeling I should own one. I don't know why. I always feel when somebody comes and explains to me about a lot of these features, yeah, it's good. It looks nice. It's good. There are a lot of features in it. You sit and the seat, relaxes. It has got a heater. Everything is fine. But I don't feel like owning it. And very simple. Even I used to own a Maruti 800. There used to be a scratch, and oh, there's a scratch because everybody says no, there should not be a scratch. See, you tend to flow with the crowd. You tend to behave the way the crowd behaves. Sometimes it is right, but sometimes it is not good. So the only way out is you don't own it. But having done owning, not owning is an answer. May not be for all the time, but some things you still have to own it because you have to exist. And yeah, that's when that viveka comes, discrimination part of it comes again to the last part is the thought. You need to have it, but if it breaks, you have to accept it. It has got certain life and then move on. So these are some 2-3 points which I could correlate when I was going through that video. Okay, thanks.
Excellent comment. Excellent. So, the way each one of you could relate to the life, no? So fundamentally, that is what all this learning that we are doing together has to lead to. It is not for the sake of learning, that it is actually for the sake of self-transformation. So what is the self-transformation? I think it came out in some of your talk. The mind is constantly active. The mind is constantly agitated. And why the mind is constantly active and agitated is primarily because the mind is seeking something. It is constantly in the I want. So it is in a way, we are sitting, if we sit in the mind, we are sitting in a bus which is moving at probably 200 kilometers per hour speed. So all the spiritual sadhana is fundamentally to kind of put a brake and to relax and to look around. Then, it is apparent that there is so much of wonderful life. So therefore, Tattva Bodha begins with offering of gratitude. Prayer is also an act of gratitude. So here, we all, I feel, can be grateful to the great masters. If not for their selfless work and their dedication to share it with the others, today we won't be sitting here and reviewing all this and seeing the transformation that we are seeing in our life. So it is Shankaracharya ji who created, and the great simple tool such as, the question of who am I, and bringing all this clarity through the talks and the satsanga. So these three great masters, first and foremost, I want to offer my gratitude to them. So all of you already mentioned this. The focus is on liberation. So what is liberation? That is a very important question to realize. So liberation for me is to be rid of the mental propensities. Chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta vritti, the mind has certain attitudes. The mind has certain aspects. I want this, I need this, I need to go there, I need to do this, I need to acquire this. So all these various kinds of attitudes are acquired. It is not there, when you are born in the body. It is not there. So the attitude of the mind has to be transformed. Life as such is wonderful. It is the attitude of the mind that needs to be shifted. In order to shift the attitude of the mind and to realize who is the one who is acting through the mind, is the essence of liberation, is mukti. To be in that state where the mind is no more the owner, but you have overcome the mind, transcended the mind. That is truly mukti. And in order to do that, you need to have the tool to discriminate. It is like they say, no, in order to remove a thorn, you need a thorn only. To remove the mental attitude, you need mind only, because you cannot bring any other tool. But in that mind, certain qualities are needed. So Viveka is that sharp scissor or sharp knife through which you can cut away what is the cancer. So Viveka, and then naturally the detachment arises. Once when you are able to recognize that the cancer is because of the mental attitude, naturally the Vairagya starts developing. And the 6 valuable assets and the desire for liberation, we'll examine that in detail, but they are also natural flow. So each one of this is just a natural evolution. Once when there is a clarity emerging that, okay, whatever I'm seeking through the mind is not giving me permanent happiness, then the mind naturally wants to go towards, then what is the solution? Therefore, many of the great texts begin, Athato Brahma Jignasa. Therefore, now you have come into Brahma Jignasa. You've done whatever you have done in the life to get that happiness. You went and got money, you got married, you made children, you have status, you have power. All that you did. Why? You thought that you would get happiness, but still you feel miserable. Okay, now come. Here is where the true opening for you. Athato Brahma Jignasa. Through the clarity of Brahmatva only you can raise above. And that is what the essence of discrimination is. There's a changing aspect that we are dealing with. There's an unchanging aspect. So far the life focused on only looking at the changing aspect. I do something, I get something. So in order to get that, what do I need to do? So all this was a goal-oriented thinking. I reach there, I go to America, I become happy. I get this post, then I become happy. So all this is now through the sharp tool of discrimination, I need to start recognizing that it is changing. Like the simple example of chocolate. When I was a little child, maybe one little Cadbury or maybe 5 paisa peppermint would have made me very happy. But now the chocolate has changed. The nature of the chocolate has changed. But the fundamental aspect of seeking the chocolate hasn't necessarily transformed. And that's why I become unhappy. Because I still am seeking. I need a chocolate. Now the nature of the chocolate is different. Now the chocolate may be a big post. Now the chocolate may be going to America and settling down. Now the chocolate may be somebody coming and appreciating me. Chocolate has changed. The nature of the chocolate has changed. But my fundamental desire that I become happy only by getting chocolate, that hasn't yet shifted. So therefore, as long as I continue to function in the changing world, only as I change, I will never ever be satisfied. So through various chocolates, I can realize that example very clearly in my own life. So therefore, athato brahma jignasa. Therefore, then what is that chocolate that gives me permanent happiness? Recognize that you no more need any chocolate. Chocolate is not needed for you to be happy, to be peaceful, to be healthy. You already have that permanent chocolate. You already are the owner of the entire set of chocolates. Having and recognizing. And that having and recognizing is an unchanging recognition. Where is that? That is in the recognition of the subject. The change is the object. It is constantly changing. Recognize that you are the subject, and through the subject only all the objects are. That is the true discrimination. So therefore, recognition of who am I, through that only the permanent happiness can arise. And that naturally brings to the Vairagya part. What is Vairagya? Vairagya at any point of time is being in the awareness of what is changing and what is unchanging. The unchanging in me is this awareness. The changing in me is everything else. Fundamentally, world is nothing but mind. World is represented as mind only. At the end of the day, I become aware of the world only through my mind. So which means that at the mind level, everything is constantly changing. So when I become aware that it is changing, what is not changing is also naturally there. So discrimination, through the power of discrimination, I discriminate the I see you, the see you. Whatever I'm seeing, what am I seeing? I am seeing various things in my mind. So whatever I'm seeing is not who I am. Very simple. So that see you means I am not what I'm seeing. So this is the discrimination that I am developing. And that naturally brings me to the detachment, because the sense of happiness is, I thought, by acquiring something. I thought that the acquisition of something will give me a happiness. I thought that happiness is in the object. But now I'm realizing that happiness is not in the object. It is inherent. So that's why this, comic. So unhappy person sitting and thinking, I want. And then the master comes and removes the I want. Then what remains is happiness. Another way of looking at it is, some of you already gave that example. So let's say, I will be happy when I get a post. So that I want a post is an agitation in the mind. The mind is now constantly thinking, I want that post. Without that post, I'm unhappy. And when that post comes, it is not the post that made me happy. That moment, the mental agitation stopped. It dried down for a moment. Then what was there naturally? The self. That was evident. So I became happy not because of getting the post. I am happiness. So I am happiness is the true recognition. That is the true detachment. Because then everything else is not me. Everything else is, I can use them. There is nothing like I need to give up. Vairagya doesn't mean that I have to throw away things, that I have to wear a certain dress, that to run away somewhere. Vairagya means that the object is not what is giving me happiness. So sannyasa also means the same thing. Samyak nyasaha iti sannyasaha. Right deposit of the mind is true sannyasa. Where should the mind be deposited? The mind was till now constantly deposited in the world, in the objects. I want. Now I realize that it is not the world, it is not the object of the mind. It is I who is the source of happiness. So this is the essence of what I have realized through the Viveka and the Vairagya discussions so far. So let me stop here. Any questions anybody has? All right. If there are no more questions, maybe we can, for 5 minutes, sit in silence and then end it with the prayer. So again, the purpose of the silence. Purpose of the silence is, see, who is becoming silent? You are already silent. You are not becoming silent. But in silence, you're watching the tendency of the mind. The tendency of the mind is to think. And when you get involved with the thought, you become embroiled in that situation. So watching means to let the tendency of the mind to be as it is, not to be involved with it. So to let it be. So in the silence, therefore, we can take the help of the breath. We can start watching the breath. If any thoughts come, we'll just say, let it be. Then you are aware of your own awareness. So to be aware of your own awareness is itself dhyana. So let us sit straight and close our eyes. You can notice various sounds are happening outside. Realize that the world is always active, and for every activity there is a sound associated. Wherever you go, there is a sound associated because there is some activity happening. You can tell your mind to let the world go on. And gently request the mind to start watching your breath. If you're not able to feel your breath, breathe in and breathe out few times. this silent state of the mind is an important state. It's like a whiteboard. Let's put this state to the best use. See yourself functioning in the world as a happy, healthy, and peaceful being. See your immediate family members, husband, wife, children, parents, in-laws. See them all happy, healthy, and peaceful. See your friends, neighbors, relatives. See them all happy, healthy, and peaceful. There may be some people with whom there may be some disagreements. Tell your mind to let it be. See them also happy, healthy, and peaceful. Now see the entire world, all the people, whether you know them or not, happy, healthy, and peaceful. See the entire existence full of people, animal, plants, wind, water, mountains. See the entire existence happy, healthy, and peaceful. Once again, see yourself happy, healthy, peaceful. Gently rub your palms together. Give some warmth to your eyes. Let us offer our gratitude and respect to all the beings here. So Padmaji, shall we end?
Yeah.
I'll just share the ending. Do you want the ending prayer to be shared?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a moment. I'll share the ending prayer. Okay, Padmaji.
Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudichyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Shishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Nanu Nanenbadu Nanalla Ideha Manabuddhi Nanalla Sachidanandatma Shiva Nanu Nane Shivoham Shivoham Shivoham. Atma Darshanam Brahma Darshanam Brahma Darshanam Satya Darshanam. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino bhavantu. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Padmaji. So is there anything else that anybody wants to bring up? Okay, then we'll end our today's contemplation. So we'll meet next Sunday for the long meditation. So I'll share the meditation link. And if there are any questions, from anybody's talk or anything, if you feel any other questions, let's keep discussing them in the group. So till next Sunday, Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Thank you, sir.
Hari Om, all of you. Hari Om.
Thank you.